So to start off with this recipe, we're going to need to grind up some spices, and I suggest a mortar and pestle for this. And if you don't have a mortar and pestle, you can get a coffee grinder and grind up your spices that way, but I'm going to warn you, these spices is going to make your coffee grinder smell like the spices, and your coffee is going to smell like the spices. This is some strong stuff. And to that, we're going to drop in about 4 allspice berries. That's a little less than half a teaspoon of allspice powder. Next thing we're going to add is a half a teaspoon of black pepper. We're also going to add half a teaspoon of rosemary. As far as meat, I like to go with 100% ground beef. Ground sirloin to be exact. I don't necessarily like to mix ground pork or ground turkey and Swedish meatballs, maybe an Italian meatballs, but this one you're going to prefer to go with 100% beef. Now go ahead and throw in those spices that we ground up. And we're going to add 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And this one's optional, but I throw in half a teaspoon of sage. So now it's time for the nutmeg, and you don't have to buy a whole nutmeg to grind up yourself. I prefer to do that. You can buy ground nutmeg. But what you want to do is you want to take a zester, or you can take the zester on the side of a cheese grater if you have one, and you can just grate out about half of that nutmeg. Most of the time when you get nutmeg, they're all going to be around the same size, and if you grind about half of it, you're going to get about half a teaspoon. That's all you're going to need. But if you already have it ground, you can use that too. But nutmeg is absolutely not optional. You have to have nutmeg. That's what makes Swedish meatballs. That's what kind of gives the meatballs its sweetness. And then you want to throw in half a cup of panko breadcrumbs. Now you can use any other breadcrumbs that you want to, that's store-bought, or you can make your own. Most of the other type of breadcrumbs that you'll find are already seasoned, and it's going to ruin your meatballs, so that's why I stick with panko. We're also going to throw in 1 egg. The egg is going to be used as a binder to kind of keep things together. The breadcrumbs help as well, but the egg is really going to get everything sticking together, especially when you're cooking it. These meatballs don't really have a lot of fat in it if you get ground sirloin. So once you start frying them, they might fall apart in the pan without the egg. Did I mention to add that you got to put salt in these meatballs? I think I forgot about that. You got to add half a teaspoon of salt. So grab yourself a cast iron skillet, and if you don't have a cast iron skillet, a regular skillet is fine too. You're going to throw in 2 tablespoons of butter on medium-high heat, and you're going to pour in about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, or even grapeseed oil will work with this. The reason why so much fat is because once we're done sauteing our onions and cooking our meatballs, we're actually going to make a gravy out of this. Alright, so we're going to throw in a cup of roughly chopped onions. I prefer it this way because it actually gives a bed for the meatballs to sit on while they cook. Keeps the meatballs from burning, and for some odd reason it keeps the onions from burning. I'm not quite sure what that phenomenon is, but it works. So once you have all your meatballs placed in a pan, make sure you keep an eye on your heat. It should be medium-high heat the whole way through. That way you won't burn the onions and you won't burn the meatballs, and the meatballs get time to cook all the way through. So once they're done, they should look like this. You got a little bit of caramelization on each side of the meatballs, but not burnt. Go ahead, take those out. You can actually keep those in the oven. Probably set the oven to about 200 degrees. That will keep them warm, but not dry them out. Now, you can actually cook these in the oven, but it will take a lot longer, maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And now for our gravy, we're going to throw in 1 tablespoon of butter, and we're also going to throw in 1 teaspoon of minced garlic. So we're also going to throw in 2 teaspoons of all-purpose flour to the pan. I know it doesn't seem like it's a lot of flour, especially when making gravy, but for this particular gravy, you're supposed to allow it to cook down and thicken as it cooks. But I have a little trick to show you guys to kind of speed the process up and reserve its flavor. So we're also going to throw in a 1.5 cups of chicken stock, and we're also going to throw in 1/2 cup of cream. Alright, so we got to add some flavor to this. We got parsley in it, we got black pepper in it. That's optional, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. But one of the things that we're going to have to do is, there's no measurement for this. It's all about your taste and how you feel is too much or too little. So you're going to have to add salt to this, and you're going to have to add salt, taste it, add salt, taste it. The thing that you have to remember is that you can always add salt to something, but you cannot take it out. So here's the secret that I was telling you guys about. It's not really a secret. I've been adding a little bit at a time to it, but you guys can go ahead and just dump it in if you want to. I'm pretty sure you're going to get the same results. But I added 1 tablespoon of cornstarch mixed with water into this gravy to kind of thicken it up quicker, and to boil it for a little while so we can get that cornstarch flavor out of it, and so it'll thicken up into a nice thick gravy.